It's October 17th, just past 6 p.m. The air bites with that crisp, leaf-scattered chill only autumn in Ohio brings. Pamela Chrysler locks up the clinic where she's worked as a nurse for 8 years, climbs into her silver Honda Civic, and pulls onto the quiet backroads toward home. She texts her sister, Sarah. Finished up late. Home in 10. Soup still warm. Sarah replies instantly. Pots on the stove. See you soon. But Pamela never walks through that door. 40 minutes later, her car is found idling in the driveway. Headlights still cutting through the dusk. Driver's side door slightly ajar. Keys dangling in the ignition like she'd only stepped away for a second. Her purse sits upright on the passenger seat. Wallet inside, phone still charging. No sign of a struggle. No blood. No torn clothing. Nothing knocked out of place in the gravel. Just stillness. As if Pamela Chrysler, a woman mid-sentence with her sister, halfway between her car and her front door, had been plucked from existence. Police called it a routine missing persons case at first. No evidence of foul play. No enemies. No red flags. But what detectives uncovered in the weeks that followed would crack this investigation wide open. Secrets buried in plain sight. Lies wearing badges. And a betrayal so intimate, it rewrote everything we thought we knew about the night Pamela Chrysler vanished without a trace. To understand the shock of what happened to Pamela Chrysler, you need to understand who she was. And here's the truth. There were two Pamelas. The first Pamela was the one everyone saw. A 32-year-old pediatric nurse from Toledo, Ohio. The kind who'd work a 12-hour shift, then stay an extra hour rocking a scared toddler through an asthma attack. Her patient's parents called her an angel. Her coworkers said she'd sneak extra popsicles to kids in chemo. At home, she was the backbone. Sunday dinners at her mom's house. Soccer games for her nephews. When her sister's marriage crumbled, Pamela was the one who showed up at 2 a.m. with ice cream and laundry baskets. The glue, her family called her. The steady one. The good one. But then, there was the other Pamela. The one hiding credit card statements under her mattress. $38,000 in debt from her divorce. Medical bills her ex-husband left her drowning in. The one who'd cry in her car after visiting her brother, Jake, in county jail. Again, his third opioid possession charge. The one who started lying. Working late at the clinic, but her badge never swiped the building. Book club nights, but her best friend hadn't seen her in months. And then the whispers. A neighbor spotted a dark SUV idling near her house after midnight. Twice. Pamela's phone logs showed calls to a number registered to Valley Towing, a company that didn't exist. Her sister found a man's silver cufflink in Pamela's laundry. Not her ex-husband's style. Too expensive. Too polished. This is where investigators froze. The saintly nurse. The secret debts. The phantom relationship. None of it fit. Was she being blackmailed? Running from loan sharks? Or living a double life so carefully constructed, even her own family never saw the cracks? One detective put it bluntly. People don't vanish into thin air, but sometimes they vanish into the lies they've built around themselves. For 3 weeks, the investigation into Pamela Chrysler's disappearance was going nowhere. Dead ends piled up like dirty snow. No body, no suspects, no fingerprints in her car that didn't belong there. Just silence. Detectives retraced her route home a dozen times. They interviewed coworkers, neighbors, even her ex-husband twice. Nothing. Her brother Jake sat in his jail cell, begging guards for updates, sick with guilt. Her sister Sarah stopped sleeping, staring at Pamela's untouched soup pot on the stove. The police chief called it a deep freeze case, the kind that slowly fades from headlines, and maybe from hope. Then came day 22. It started quietly, too quietly. In a cramped back office cluttered with coffee cups and case files, a forensic accountant named Eli Moss was combing through Pamela's bank records for the 4th time. He wasn't a detective, didn't carry a badge, just a numbers guy with thick glasses and a habit of humming when he concentrated. Most cops wrote him off as paperwork, but Eli noticed things. Small things. The kind of details that scream when you know how to listen. Like the cash. Every single Friday for the past 5 months, Pamela deposited exactly $500 into her checking account. Not $499. Not $501. Always 5 crisp $100 bills. Always at 3:15 p.m. Always at the same ATM outside a closed-down video store. And never a trace of where that cash came from. No paycheck stubs. No side gigs. No withdrawals from another account. Just money appearing out of thin air. Eli leaned back in his creaky chair. Nurses in Toledo didn't make that kind of cash. Not legally. Not in secret. Not every week like clockwork. He tracked the deposits back further. 5 months took him right to the week after her brother Jake's last arrest. The week Pamela stopped answering her sister's calls for 3 days straight. The week something changed. He called the lead detective, Rivera. Rivera, these deposits, they're not just odd. They're a signal. Someone was paying her. And whatever they paid her got her killed. But Rivera hesitated. Eli, it's cash. Could be tips. Could be selling old clothes online. At the same time? Same amount? Every week? No. Eli's voice tightened. This is a transaction. And whoever gave her that money didn't want a paper trail. They argued. Rivera saw coincidence. Eli saw a fuse. They hung up frustrated. Another dead end? Maybe. Then came day 23. 10:47 a.m. A knock on the precinct door. Not a cop. Not a reporter. Frank Burton. Pamela's 72-year-old neighbor with a bad hip and a St. Bernard named Duke. Frank didn't want to come in. Didn't want coffee. Just handed Rivera a thumb drive, his hands shaking. I didn't sleep last night, he said. My camera, it points at my rose bushes. But the corner of the frame? It catches Pamela's garage. Rivera plugged it in. The video was time-stamped October 17th, the night Pamela vanished. 7:03 p.m. Grainy, black and white. Frank's roses swaying in the wind. And there, in the bottom left corner, Pamela's driveway. Her car idling, just like the cops found it. Empty. Then, at 7:12 p.m. movement, a sheriff's cruiser rolls up silently. No lights. No siren. Out steps Deputy Carl Riggs. The same deputy who'd been first on the scene that night. The same deputy who'd assured Pamela's family this was probably a stressed-out woman needing space. The same deputy who'd written the initial report, no evidence of foul play. But on the video, Riggs isn't investigating. He walks calmly to the overgrown lilac bush beside Pamela's garage. Glances left, glances right, then pulls something small and dark from his jacket pocket. A scarf. He kneels, shoves it deep into the branches like he's planting tulip bulbs. Stands, brushes dirt off his knees, gets back in his cruiser, drives away. Total time, 47 seconds. Rivera froze the frame, zoomed in. The scarf was blue with white flowers. Pamela's favorite. The one her sister Sarah had given her for her birthday. The one Sarah had told reporters Pamela would never leave behind. Crime scene techs had combed that yard. They'd missed it, because Riggs hadn't found it that night. He'd put it there. Rivera's blood went cold. This wasn't just a cover-up. It was a frame job, by one of their own. He thought of Eli's call. The $500 payments. Riggs oversaw evidence for the county's drug task force. He had access to cash seizures, to evidence lockers, to informant files. Suddenly, the pieces didn't just fit, they detonated. Rivera ran to the captain's office. Didn't knock. Slammed the thumb drive onto the desk. Riggs planted evidence at Pamela's house the night she vanished. And I'd bet my badge those $500 deposits came from his evidence fund. The captain stared at the frozen image of Riggs kneeling by the bushes. You realize what this means? If Riggs is dirty, it means Pamela didn't just disappear, Rivera cut in. She was erased, by a man sworn to protect her. And we helped him do it. That's when the real hunt began. Not for a missing woman, for a conspiracy wearing a badge. They pulled Riggs' duty logs, cross-referenced them with Pamela's working late nights. Matched. They subpoenaed his evidence locker logs. $500 in cash destroyed, every Friday for 5 months, right before Pamela deposited $500. But the darkest clue? Riggs had accessed the case file of Pamela's brother, Jake, 14 times in the past year. Always late at night. Always alone. Pamela wasn't having an affair. She wasn't in debt to some thug. She'd made a deal with the devil next door. A deal Riggs never intended to keep. And when she threatened to expose him, he didn't just silence her. He turned her into a ghost before she even hit the ground. In 48 hours, the case exploded from a sad missing persons bulletin to a live wire of corruption. And the most dangerous truth of all? The man they were hunting was still carrying a gun, still answering calls, still wearing the uniform. Because when the predator is the one who's supposed to guard the flock, nobody hears the screams until it's far, far too late. Deputy Carl Riggs wasn't just another cop. He was the face of trust in Fulton County. 20 years on the force. coach of the Little League team, sang in the church choir every Sunday. When he showed up at Pamela Chrysler's house that October night, her sister Sarah felt relief. "Thank God it's you, Carl," she'd said through tears. He'd patted her shoulder. "We'll find her, darlin'. Probably just needed space." His report was clean, clinical, no signs of disturbance, vehicle operational, personal effects intact, likely voluntary departure. He closed the case as a routine runaway within 48 hours. Everyone believed him. Why wouldn't they? Then came Frank Burton's security footage. Seeing Riggs plant that blue and white scarf in the lilac bush changed everything. Suddenly, the pillar of the community had blood on his hands. Literally, because when forensics tested the scarf, 2 types of human blood, Pamela's and a second unknown female, Detectives Rivera and Moss moved fast. Quietly, they couldn't tip off Riggs. Not while he was still armed, still patrolling, still smiling at diner cashiers who called him hero. They started with his work computer. Nothing. His bank accounts? Clean as a whistle. His duty logs? Perfectly filed. It was too clean, like someone had scrubbed his life spotless. Then Rivera had a dark thought. What if he's not the mastermind? What if he's scared too? They pulled Riggs' personal cell records. And there it was. In the 3 weeks after Pamela vanished, Riggs made 73 calls to a single unregistered number. Always under 2 minutes. Always late at night. 1:18 a.m., 2:07 a.m., 3:43 a.m. Rivera traced the signal. It pinged off a cell tower near the old Riverbend warehouse district, a rotting graveyard of empty buildings known for 2 things: fentanyl deals and a vicious gang called the Kingsmen. Riggs wasn't just dirty. He was trapped. Rivera confronted Riggs' wife, Linda, at her sister's house. She sat stiffly on a floral couch, knuckles white around a coffee mug. "Carl hasn't slept since October," she whispered. "He keeps a go-bag in his trunk. And last week, he gave me this." She slid a sealed envelope across the table. Inside, a life insurance policy for $750,000. Updated 3 days after Pamela disappeared. "Did he say why?" Rivera asked. Linda's voice broke. He said, "If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident." Meanwhile, Moss dug into Riggs' patrol routes. Every Friday for 5 months, Riggs signed out for a K-9 training exercise from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. His GPS data placed him nowhere near the training grounds. Instead, his cruiser idled behind the shuttered Cineplex 8 theater, less than 100 yards from the ATM where Pamela deposited her $500. Same time, same day, every week. He wasn't just near the ATM, he was watching it. Then came the break that turned dread into terror. Rivera subpoenaed Riggs' evidence locker logs. Riggs had checked out 2 items on October 18th, the morning after Pamela vanished. A blue and white women's scarf, logged as evidence number 4478, Jane Doe homicide. A Ziploc bag containing $5,000 cash, logged as Kingsman drug bust, case number 2291. The scarf matched the one he'd planted. The cash? Identical sequential serial numbers to Pamela's last 3 $500 deposits. But the darkest discovery was in Riggs' desk, taped under a drawer. A burner phone. Moss scrolled through the call log. 73 outgoing calls to that Kingsman-linked number. And 1 incoming call. October 17th, 6:52 p.m., 8 minutes after Pamela texted her sister. Home in 10. Rivera mapped the timeline. 6:44 p.m., Pamela texts Sarah. 6:52 p.m., Riggs' burner phone rings. 22-second call. 7:03 p.m., Pamela's car enters her driveway, per neighbor's cam. 7:12 p.m., Riggs plants the scarf, same cam. He didn't act alone, Moss said quietly. Someone called him before she got home, told him where she'd be, when to move. They tracked the incoming number. It belonged to a disposable track phone bought for cash at a gas and go. But security footage from the store that day showed a man in a Kingsman gang tattoo buying 3 burners. And sitting in his passenger seat, a sheriff's deputy, Carl Riggs, smiling, taking a coffee from the man's hand. Rivera felt sick. Riggs wasn't just taking bribes. He was partners with the monsters he was supposed to lock up. They moved to arrest him at dawn. Riggs was in his driveway, loading golf clubs into his SUV. He froze when he saw Rivera's unmarked car. Didn't run. Didn't reach for his gun. Just sagged, like a puppet with cut strings. "Carl Riggs," Rivera said, "you're under arrest for the kidnapping of Pamela Chrysler and evidence tampering." Riggs stared at the ground. I want a lawyer. Who called you at 6:52 p.m. on October 17th? Rivera pressed. Riggs' hands shook. I don't know what you're. Was it Marcus Boone? Rivera fired the name of the Kingsmen's leader. Riggs flinched like he'd been slapped. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. A raw, broken sound. You think you've won? Boone owns judges. Cops. Half the damn DA's office. You arrest me? I'm dead before lunch. He leaned closer, sweat beading on his lip. And you'll never find her body. Because only I know where he put Pamela Chrysler. As cuffs clicked around his wrists, Riggs whispered one last thing, not to Rivera, but to the rising sun. She wasn't supposed to figure it out. In that moment, Rivera understood. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a sacrifice. Riggs sold Pamela to save his own skin. And her only crime was trusting the badge on his chest. For weeks, detectives believed Pamela Chrysler was Deputy Riggs' victim. A pawn. A target. But the truth? She wasn't just in his web. She helped spin it. And when she realized what she'd become, she tried to burn it down. Let's rewind. 5 months before she vanished, Pamela's little brother, Jake, got arrested again. This time for possession with intent to sell. Facing 10 years. Jake wasn't a kingpin. Just a broken kid hooked on the pills he sold to feed his own addiction. Pamela begged his public defender. There has to be a deal. He needs rehab, not prison. That's when Riggs entered her life. He approached her after Jake's bail hearing. Leaned against her car in the courthouse parking lot. Heard about your brother, he said, sunlight glinting off his badge. I might have a way out, but it stays between us. His offer was simple. You give me names, locations, drop times for Kingsmen drug shipments. I make Jake's charges vanish. No record, no time. She hesitated. I'm a nurse. I don't know drug dealers. You know patients, Riggs countered. Addicts talk. Listen. So she did. Pamela started noticing things at work. A construction worker with fresh track marks bragging about pure fire down at the docks. A teenage girl trembling through withdrawal, whispering about a new batch coming Tuesday nights. Pamela wrote it all down. Every rumor, every location, every name. Every Friday at 2:45 p.m., she'd drive to the abandoned Cineplex 8 lot. Riggs would be waiting in his cruiser. Window down. No eye contact. She'd slip a folded note into his glove box. He'd hand her an envelope. $500 cash. For your trouble, he'd say. She thought she was saving Jake. She was actually building her own coffin. Because Riggs wasn't busting the Kingsmen. He was protecting them. Every tip Pamela gave him, he sold it straight to Marcus Boone, the Kingsmen's leader. Told Boone which stash houses were compromised, which informants to silence, which cops to bribe. Pamela wasn't dismantling the drug ring. She was helping Riggs control it. For months, she had no idea. Until September 29th. Pamela worked the ER night shift. Around 1 a.m., paramedics rushed in a gunshot victim. A Kingsman foot soldier. Dying. As Pamela prepped his hand suddenly clamped around her wrist. His eyes wild. Tell Riggs. Boone knows about the nurse, he gasped. Senior photo on Riggs' phone. You're dead. He flatlined before she could ask questions. The next day, Pamela confronted Riggs. Met him at the Cineplex lot. No note. No cash demand. Just fury. That kid last night said Boone has my photo. Said you gave it to him. Are you working with them? Riggs' face went stone. You're imagining things. Am I? She pulled out her phone. Played a voicemail from Jake in jail. Pam, something's wrong. Jake's voice trembled. A guard just said, tell your sister to back off or Boone'll mail you her fingers. How do they know about you? How do they know your name? Silence. Then Riggs' mask slipped. Walk away, Pamela. Take the money. Save your brother. Or I can't protect you. Protect me? She laughed, cold and sharp. You set me up. You gave me blood money. And I'm going to the real police. Today. She turned to leave. Riggs grabbed her arm. Hard. You do that. He hissed. I buried Jake under the prison. And you disappear. Permanently. Pamela yanked free. Try it. That was the last time they spoke. Now the scarf. Remember the blood-stained blue and white scarf Riggs planted in Pamela's bushes? The one he checked out of evidence the morning after she vanished? Detectives assumed it was Pamela's. A grim proof she'd been attacked. But they were wrong. DNA tests confirmed Pamela's blood was on it. Likely from a hair sample Riggs stole from her clinic file. But the other blood? It belonged to Lindsay Vance. A 24-year-old waitress found dead in a Kingsman-controlled crack house 3 weeks before Pamela vanished. Lindsay's case file? Signed out by Riggs the day her body was discovered. He'd kept her bloody scarf as a trophy. Or insurance. Riggs didn't just frame Pamela. He framed her with a dead woman's murder. Here's why. When Rivera pulled Riggs' burner phone records, he found a deleted text thread from October 16th, the day before Pamela vanished. Sent to Marcus Boone's burner number. Riggs, nurse is gonna talk. Needs to vanish. Boone, make it clean. No body equals no case. Riggs, got an idea. Remember Vance? Boone, genius. Double the heat off us. Lindsay Vance's murder was unsolved. By planting her scarf, with Pamela's DNA added, Riggs created a sick illusion. Pamela killed Lindsay, then fled in guilt. It diverted the investigation, protected Boone, and buried 2 women with 1 lie. But Pamela fought back. Even at the end, in her car's glove compartment, hidden under maps, Rivera found a thumb drive. On it, a single audio file, recorded September 29th, the day she confronted Riggs. Her voice shook, but the words were clear. This is Pamela Chrysler. Deputy, Carl Riggs just threatened my life. He's taking bribes from the Kingsmen gang, selling them police intel, forcing me to feed him information. If anything happens to me or my brother, Jake, he did it. Tell my sister I. The recording cut off. Riggs must have seen her hit stop. She never got to finish. Tell my sister I. Love you? I'm sorry? I tried. We'll never know. Pamela Chrysler walked into that deal with Riggs to save her brother. She walked out a ghost. Not because she was naive, because she believed, right up until that kid died grabbing her wrist in the ER, that the badge meant justice. And that faith, it killed her. Riggs sat in jail, smug and silent. He knew the rules, no body, no murder charge. Without Pamela's remains, it was all circumstantial. He'd walk, and he knew it. Detectives Rivera and Moss had the financial records, the planted scarf, the burner phone logs. But Riggs' lawyer kept sneering. Where's your victim, gentlemen? Where's the crime scene? The DA warned them. A jury won't convict a decorated deputy on maybes. Hope was fading. Then Riggs made one fatal mistake. He got careless with a woman. Meet Officer Danny Clayton, 26 years old, bright-eyed rookie, and for 7 months, Riggs' secret mistress. She joined the force idolizing him, the hero cop who'd saved kids from a burning bus. By the time she saw the rot beneath the badge, she was in too deep. 3 days after Riggs' arrest, Danny sat in the precinct locker room, shaking. Riggs had called her from jail, on his lawyer's phone, demanding she lose a file from his evidence locker. Do this, he'd said, or Boone's people pay your mom a visit. That's when Danny truly understood. He was the monster. As she paced her apartment that night, a memory clawed at her. 2 weeks before Pamela vanished, Danny had been at Riggs' house. He'd played a voicemail on his burner phone. Accidentally, he claimed. A woman's tense voice filled the room. Carl, it's Pamela. We need to talk about Boone. Jake's guard just. Riggs had snatched the phone away. Wrong number, he'd laughed. But now, Danny knew that voice. Pamela Chrysler. The next morning, Danny walked into Rivera's office. Pale but steady. I need immunity and witness protection for my mother. Then I'll give you Riggs. Rivera leaned forward. How? He trusts me. Thinks he owns me. Danny's knuckles whitened. Set up a call. Tell him I'm his only way out. He'll talk to me. They gave her a wire. Not hidden in a pen or button. Sewn into her bra strap. Riggs pats everyone down, she said. Even me. The meet was set at 8 p.m. behind Ernie's all-night diner, a spot Riggs used for off-the-books chats. Rain slicked the asphalt. Distant highway noise thrummed like a nervous heartbeat. Danny sat in her parked car, windows fogged. Rivera and Moss listened from a surveillance van 100 yards away. Static crackled in their headphones. Riggs arrived at 8:03 p.m., slid into Danny's passenger seat. Smelled like jail soap and arrogance. You clean, he growled, already patting her waist, hips, ankles. Clean, Danny breathed. Your lawyer's plan, it's not enough. They've got the burner phone logs. The ATM footage. They know. Riggs' eyes narrowed. They know squat. No body, no case. I walk in. They have Pamela's voice, Carl. Danny's interruption was sharp. Calculated. On that voicemail you played me. The one you said was a wrong number. Rivera played it for me today. It's her. Pamela Chrysler. Riggs froze. Bullshit. Is it? Danny pressed. She said Boone. She said Jake. How would a wrong number know those names? Rivera said. She hesitated, baiting the hook. He said they're running voice analysis. It'll prove it's her. Prove you lied. Silence. Heavy. Broken only by the tick-tick-tick of Danny's turn signal she'd accidentally left on. Then Riggs snapped. That stupid nurse, he spat. Thought she was so smart. Blackmailing me? After everything I did for her. Danny kept her voice soft. Feather light. What did she know, Carl? Everything. Riggs' breath fogged the window. She found out about Boone. About the money. Thought she'd go to internal affairs. Play the hero. He laughed, harsh and hollow. I told her walk away. Take the cash. Save her junkie brother. But no. She had to be a martyr. Danny's hand brushed his arm. A lover's touch. So what happened to her? Riggs stared straight ahead. Rain streaked the windshield like tears. I made her vanish. But how? Danny whispered. Where is she? Permanently. The word dropped like a stone. Boone's crew grabbed her the second she stepped out of her car. Took her to the river. Weighed her down with rebar. She's fish food now. No body. No case. He turned to Danny, eyes gleaming in the dashboard light. That voice analysis? Won't matter. Because that recording, it dies with you tonight. In the surveillance van, Rivera stopped breathing. They had it. A full confession. But Riggs wasn't done. My lawyer's got a guy, he said, pulling a burner phone from his jacket. Boone's waiting for my signal. You drive me to the Canadian border right now. Or he texts your mom's address to his trigger man. He tapped the phone. Choose. Danny didn't flinch. Okay, but first, she reached into the back seat, pretending to grab her purse. Instead, she yanked the car door handle and ran. Riggs lunged, too late. Danny was already sprinting through the rain toward Rivera's van. Riggs scrambled into the driver's seat, cranked the ignition. All units. He's armed and fleeing. Rivera's voice barked over the radio. Headlights exploded from every direction. Sirens wailed. Riggs' car lurched. Forward, straight into a roadblock. SWAT swarmed him, dragged him out face first into a puddle. As they cuffed him, Rivera knelt beside Riggs' bleeding lip. Permanently, Carl? That's what you said. Permanently. Riggs spat mud. You think you won? Boone owns this town. I'll be out before. Listen. Asterisk Rivera held up his phone, played the wire recording. Riggs' own voice filled the rain-slashed night. I made her vanish. Permanently. Weighed her down with rebar. Fish food now. Riggs' defiance crumpled. He'd signed his own life sentence. In the end, his arrogance was his undoing. He thought Danny Clayton was just another pawn, another weak woman to control. But Danny, she chose to hear the ghost in the machine, Pamela's voice on a burner phone. And that choice, it drowned a killer in his own words. We tell stories like Pamela Chrysler's for the shock, the twists, the gasp when the badge turns rotten. But strip all that away, what's left isn't a headline. It's an ache. The kind that settles in a town's bones long after the cameras leave. This case wasn't about a monster hiding in shadows. It was about a woman who gambled everything to save her broken brother. A cop who traded his soul for stacks of dirty cash. And the quiet tragedy that no one saw coming. Not even Pamela herself. Walk through Toledo today, past the clinic where she worked. Nurses still stash extra popsicles in the oncology freezer. Pam's tradition, they say softly. Drive by her sister Sarah's house. That soup pot, it sits unused on the stove, a shrine to the sister who never came home. And in the county jail, her brother Jake studies law books at a plastic table. Gotta finish what she started, he tells guards. For Pam. But the real ghost? It's in the silence. When a sheriff's cruiser rolls down Maple Street now, people lock their doors. Not out of fear of criminals, out of fear of the uniform. That's Riggs' true legacy. Not just a life sentence. A crack in the foundation of trust. A town that wonders, if he could do it, who else? Pamela's blue and white scarf sits in an evidence locker. Tagged. Sealed. Forgotten. To the law. It's proof. To Sarah. It's the last thread of her sister's voice. She wore it every Thursday, Sarah whispers. Said the flowers reminded her spring always comes. Spring came. Pamela didn't. They never dredged the river. Never searched the woods where Boone's crew dumped evidence. The DA called it fiscally irresponsible without probable cause. So the water keeps flowing. The trees keep growing. And somewhere in that cold, dark mud, the truth of what happened after Riggs said permanently rots with her. This is the part they don't put on the true crime documentaries. The unglamorous grief. The brother who marks life without parole on his calendar not as justice, but as a reminder to wake up and fight. The way a mother flinches when the phone rings past midnight. The way an entire city holds its breath when a cop car slows near their curb. Some vanishings leave bodies. Others leave ghosts. Pamela Chrysler? She left both. Her body is a secret the river keeps. Her ghost? It's in the way her sister still sets an extra plate at Thanksgiving. In the way her patients trace her name on the clinic's in memoriam plaque. In the way that scarf, stained with 2 women's blood, still waits in a cardboard box for a trial that will never come. So why remember her? Not for the shock, not for the twist of a dirty cop, but because the quietest tragedies are the ones that rewrite us. They scrape the shine off easy answers. They remind us that monsters don't just hide under beds. Sometimes they wear a badge. Sometimes they promise salvation. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is trust the wrong soul. Pamela's final act wasn't a recording, wasn't a threat, wasn't a scream. It was showing up, day after day, trying to save someone she loved. That's the ghost that lingers. Not in the headlines, in the empty space where hope used to live. Tell her story, not for the evil, for the love that outlasted it.